Are you constantly having negative thoughts about your appearance? Joining us this morning to discuss the topic, a body dysmorphia disorder, is associate psychologist and principal therapist of Tea House Therapy Group Practice, Sonia Wynter. Good morning. Welcome to Smile Jamaica. Great to have you in studio.
Yeah, right. It's so nice. It's been too long.
Yeah. Mrs. Wynter, no disrespect, but after our performance a while ago, I don't think we need. I think we can just deal with this thing ourselves.
All right, Neville, I hear you.
Brilliant to see you. Hope all is well with you.
Thank you very much. All is well.
I have to look down to make sure I get it right. Dysmorphic disorder. What is that?
Correct. Body dysmorphic disorder is a challenge that some people have where they're really preoccupied with some perceived defect about their physical body. Okay, and typically these defects are not appreciated by other people.
Because that's why you said perceived defect.
Perceived, exactly. Sometimes there's a slight defect, but it so preoccupies the individual that it creates a tremendous amount of anxiety, and then it starts to influence how they behave and interact with the world.
Give me something specific.
So they might start doing a lot of repetitive behaviors, such as always checking how they look, checking in the mirror, getting people to reassure them that everything is okay. And then it can even get to the stage where they just avoid going out altogether, because it can create a sense of hopelessness that no matter what I do, I can never fix this thing about my skin or my face or my chest or my body. And as a result, it influences their behavior in a way that really limits their life and can even lead them to seriously contemplate ending their lives.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
What causes that?
Well, there's a model called the biopsychosocial model that tries to explain these challenges that people have. And essentially, they place the genesis of these challenges for people in the biology, that, there are, hormones or neurotransmitters that aren't working in the best interest of the individual. That's the biological part, similar to what you were just discussing, There's the social part. So sometimes it can arise out of trauma or life experiences, and then there's also the psychological part, personality and how the individual is incorporating all their life experiences and their genetic predispositions.
Yeah. What are the risk factors? And are there risk factors? That's maybe where we should start.
Yeah, there are risk factors. So you have a higher probability of experiencing body dysmorphia if somebody else in your family has one of these disorders or a related obsessive compulsive disorder, okay? Because body dysmorphic disorder is in the group of obsessive disorders, okay? Yeah. So you have a higher probability. Doesn't have to happen, but there's a higher probability if there's someone in your family that does have this disorder. And then, of course, sometimes life experiences, sometimes it could even arise from severe or intense bullying about a part of your body, Yeah. And as a result, you feel this tremendous sense of rejection and hopelessness, and people need to feel belonging. It's an important feature of human beings, and when you don't, you can really suffer, and then your behavior and thinking patterns change as a result.
I don't know if this is the right word, if it's an illness, and if it is an illness, is it a mental problem?
It's a mental health disorder.
It's not an illness.
Illness, let's call it illness. If you consider illness to be the absence of health, yes, because it's going to lead to unhealthy behavior.
So it's mental.
It's a mental health disorder, correct.
So I just don't like how I look, type of thing.
Exactly. All of us here have some problem with how we look, something physical, But the difference with body dysmorphic disorder is that it doesn't preoccupy us in a way that it completely changes our behavior, number one, with these repetitive and compulsive behaviors, and it also doesn't change how we interact with the world, how we think about things, whether we do something or not. So that's a difference, We people who really can suffer with this challenge, it's just a preoccupation all the time and influences everything they do and say, and just how they interact generally with life.
I think the challenge with it, Sonia, is sometimes it is so subtly introduced. So I'll give you an example. I'm 6 feet tall. And when I went to school, like most people around me were shorter than I was. And it took me a while to realize that when I walked, I had a hunch. Because I just didn't want to be that tall. A long time. And so now I have to often correct myself and say it's okay to be tall.
Yeah. But you know what, Delia? I'm so happy that you obviously got some interventions, perhaps social. There was probably somebody,
festival
something.
queen.
Exactly.
And they said you have to
experience.
pull the shoulders back. So that's when people talk about pageantry.
Yeah.
I say you don't know what it does for people sometimes.
Yeah.
And they were like, you have to pull the shoulders back.
Right.
That's when I realized I was even not doing that, because
So you got positive reinforcement
Right.
that helped you to kind of step into that wonderful part of you. But a lot of times people don't.
Yes.
You know, in fact, they get discouraging messages from this from the society, or they process them as
but Mrs. Wynter, if so, me have a big belly and I don't like the fact, but I know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So why don't I fix it as opposed to say, no, I don't want to go on the road, I don't want
Well,
nobody
you
see
know
me.
how
Why I
life is, Neville. You know, life takes over sometimes, you know, and we prioritize other things, you know, and we sometimes, I guess, try to compensate in other ways, you know, and a lot of it too has a lot to do with whether you believe in yourself, whether you believe you can. You know, some people just feel hopeless. Like, you know, I have a big belly and sure, I can start exercising and I can start eating right, but I know myself I can't stick to anything. So they have a lack of faith that they can really achieve certain goals, such as health.
How prevalent is this? Is that a whole heap of people in Jamaica?
Body dysmorphic disorder? No, it's not very prevalent. I don't know the statistics in Jamaica per se, but I think it's like usually like 1 in every 1,000 people that in the more developed societies where the research has
that is
been
prevalent
done.
enough.
Yeah, it is.
I'm looking at the photos, and it goes back to something Neville just said, because if you look at the photos on the screen, there is no belly, but in their head, there's a huge belly.
Exactly.
And so I want to ask, does this sometimes lead to eating disorders in those instances?
It can. The thing about it is that what happens is that there can be a slight flaw in the person's body, let's say, right? But it becomes so obsessive. They become so obsessed with this particular flaw that it grows almost as a person's stomach. Their image of themselves changes, you know, and that's why that particular picture it's really showing what individuals go through. You know,
So
they see something different.
I need somebody like you if I'm in that position.
For sure.
You tell me what?
There are different interventions that can help. For some, it might be as severe as requiring medication, okay? But also talk therapy, which is what I do.
Medication for what?
Medication helps with compulsive thinking, because if you Neville, think of the brain as an organ, and it functions like any other organ in the body.
Right.
And sometimes it doesn't function the way we want it to, just like sometimes your lungs don't function and your heart doesn't function. And medication can help in the same way. Okay. But talk therapy helps, a lot has to do, in talk therapy we help with insight, helping you to understand, because knowledge is powerful, helping you to understand why this has happened, what is happening to you. Okay, and then helping you to almost train your thoughts in a way.
Well, let's be specific again. Go back to the big belly. So I come to you with the big belly. What you tell me? I must accept that I have a big belly, or you tell me how to get rid of it? What you do?
Well, I first help you to identify your thoughts, because identify what your brain is doing. And your brain, every time you look down at your stomach or you look at a thin person, your brain triggers a certain series of thoughts. And it's those thoughts that is influencing you. So the first thing I help you to do is get in touch with the thoughts that you think of your brain as churning out series of thoughts, as it were. And so I help you to identify those thoughts first and foremost, and then you can intervene. You almost have to be able to identify the challenge before you can then intervene and do something about it.
But again, I'm belaboring.
So for instance, Neville, let's say the day may come when you have a big tummy.
Yeah.
Okay. The truth is that you look down on your tummy and you think about it for a second, and then your mind goes off to the beach. It just doesn't stay there.
Right.
And so it's helping people to do the same thing. You know, I see my tummy, I get upset, I have a thought, well, this is terrible, but then I can I can help them to choose what they think about next. Choose to fix it, or choose to connect with somebody important in their life,
or choose
do something
to just accept it and move on with your life.
Exactly.
But
so it's helping people to use their thoughts in a way that can help them rather than.
But don't you run the risk of it's not healthy to have a big belly?
Yes.
So you know, tell me that. You know, come down and say, no, ma, you have to get rid of that. Or you say, well,
you know
whether you like
what,
it or not, it's big enough.
Neville, the truth is that you already know that.
Yeah.
My telling you is probably just going to make you feel terrible about yourself, and that's not so helpful.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So good to see you.
Thank you.
Come back
Thanks,
again.
Delia.
All right.
Me and Delia couldn't do that, by the way. So, we did a show off, but we don't need her. We didn't need her. I couldn't even pronounce the word. God bless you. Sonia Wynter, Associate Psychologist and Principal Therapist of Tea House Therapy Group Practice.
Is image overrated?
That we just talked about.
Yeah. That's what we're going to be discussing after this quick break. So
We kind of
stay
need
with
Sonia
us.
to stay with me too.
10 minutes to your hell. We'll do it again next Thursday.
So come.